Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games, the finals of our F&M. Rob versus Chris. I believe Rob undefeated at this point. Can he keep that going? Chris on Sneak and Show, always a dangerous deck. Basic lands to start out, Wasteland. Card that you have to respect out of Dreadstill. Doesn't have the recursion, a life from the Loam engine, but just really set you back, fall into the trap of needing to break their standstill, continually make land drops underneath standstill, and you're just floundering. It's not going to be any better when it finally breaks. So it looks like Rob seeing a land drop. That is not how you draw it up. Chris may be very happy to just let this go for a while. No, he's actually just jamming. Okay, so it looks like Rob missing land drops, but Chris just YOLOing it anyways. Jams a sneak attack. And it resolves uncontested. And Chris not having... Oh, no, it has not resolved. There we go. So Spell Pierce, thought he was drawing for his turn there. That was drawing for the standstill. So Spell Pierce going to attempt to counter this 4-mana enchantment. Force a Will. Pushing back. Down a couple of cards because of the standstill. And it looks like Force of Wills offsetting each other. Everything's cleared up. Spell Pierce is just one of those cards. Really makes me feel like Mana Drain should be unbanned in Legacy. I think Spell Pierce is a much better card than Mana Drain at this point. Difficult as that is to accept. Iconic as Mana Drain is, its importance to the history of the game. At the end of the day, trying to win counter battles with 2-mana counters, really going to be difficult. Generally, you're talking about 1 mana or free at this point to be able to go back and forth with an opponent. Sure, if your opponent's not playing counter spells and they just derp out some big clunky card, you can Mana Drain it and go on to win, but this is not typically what Legacy looks like. It'd be a fun card to have in the environment. Kind of come full circle. And that's actually a big reason for the creation of Legacy. No way that Mana Drain was going to get restricted in Vintage. A 4 of or type 1.5, but kind of the precursor to Legacy. Anything that was restricted in Vintage was banned. 1.5. Separating those lists, one of the best things that's ever happened to Magic as far as I'm concerned. Vintage and Legacy being their own formats. Wasteland, sniping a volcanic island. Not sure the utility on that. He still has that fetch. It may mean that he's got a Stifle locked and loaded, waiting to deny this polluted delta. Sneak attack, much less exciting. Got to pass the turn. You really want to get that out there and annihilate your opponent's permanents. Standstill back down. And Rob really missing some land drops here. I guess that means his hand's probably pretty sick. Another Wasteland. This one takes out the Ancient Tomb. That one feels a little claustrophobic. That's a major setback going from 6 to 4 mana. Especially when you're trying to resolve a show and tell or a sneak attack. All of a sudden, those cards like Spell Pierce feel very, very powerful again. This is really your respite from Stifle. Like, you can crack your fetches underneath your opponent's standstill, which is a nice, I guess, consolation that eventually they're going to end up drawing 3. I don't believe Chris has any reasonable chance of getting to 15 mana and just hard casting Emrakul, that would be a really good way to break a standstill. Your opponent just goes back and forth with you. Both continue to make land drops. I mean, that is a little bit of inevitability, but unlikely to get to the 15 necessary mana. Or Rob finds Timeless Dragon and can set a clock underneath his own standstill. Urza's Saga also potentially capable. Not sure if he's running that or not. Shark Typhoon. I mean, there's so many different cards. Tough to say with Dreadstill exactly what they're on. I mean, if they're sleeving up Dreadnought and Stifle, typically not going to be any type of stock list. The people running this are the ones that are innovating it, making it happen. Chris brainstorming. Generally, you want to break a standstill during the opponent's end step, make them discard down. That is one of the times where it can be really beneficial. Trying to have the better hand when push comes to shove. Stormfetch is very powerful. I mean, it's practically on par with resolving a standstill trigger. It's still 3 cards to your hand at the end of the day. Chris is able to believe he'll have 7 cards in hand, draw up to 8, then try and force the action. Oh, we got like soul lands at the top of the screen. Actually greatly changes my perception of this game. Putting those in no man's land off camera. But stand still. Politely declines. Oh, with like 1,000,000 cards in hand. Did he brainstorm on his turn? Is that what I'm witnessing here? It looks it. He's got like 8 cards left. Brainstorm of his own. Let me know if that's, I mean, I guess that's what had to have happened. Spell Pierce, shutting down this second sneak attack with only 1 mana left available. Another Force of Will. A breeding sneak attack. Seeing exactly how that works. I believe, just trying to confirm how the haste works. You'll force a negation back, and you know you're not going to be super thrilled when your opponent pitch casts, force a negation, leaving 3 mana open. Things are probably not in a great space. Rather use that mana for winning than just reserve that extra card in hand. Dress down during the end step, so that will actually stick around for Rob's turn. Also can be very, very good versus Sneak and Show. Standstill does actually grant haste. And scooping up to a pair of Dreadnoughts. There he is. Bubba Gump, Shrimp. All right, so Chris will have the play here. Game number 2 leads out with a Ponder. And it's one of the better openings for Sneak and Show. You'd be happy with Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal into a win. That is one of the tough things about playing Sneak and Show, against Sneak and Show, I should say, is it does have the potential to turn 1 you, so it can be very scary to keep a hand with some answers, but not Force of Will. So there are plenty of cards in the format that can interact over time. Things like Dress Down, man, if they just turn one you, it feels quite bad. Staring at your uncastable answers. Brainstorm in response to Defense Grid. Glaring white borders on those guys. Different version. Grid. Also going to stop Chris from interacting on Rob's turn, so this is just not caring about any potential Dreadnought shenanigans. And looks like what is happening here? I think he just tried to brainstorm on the end step, but it looks like the top card of the library's fallen onto the graveyard. I don't know if either player has noticed that. It's interesting here. Let me know. I mean, I watched these in one take, trying to get a video out a day for all of you. Yeah, no, both players missed that. A little dexterity issue there. Everything is mostly solved. And City of Traders is going to allow for another defense grid, so neither player is going to be doing anything. Well, not casting cards during their opponent's turn. It's possible Rob could have such great hits as Otawara in his deck, the primary culprit. So Beseju also notably can be a huge pain underneath defense grid. Standstill. Just immediately jamming. Ponder breaking it. Chris is just down for a race here. Already down a couple of cards from these defense grids, so he's really just going to need to try and win while the shields are up. The second defense grid actually useful here, as Rob has 3 mana already, so could have gotten to the point where he was leaving 3 mana up and Force of Willing. A Timeless Dragon is put in. And then Emrakul just obliterating everything. Rob, just no permanence, 4 life. It's a matter of Chris finding another card to put in with the sneak attack. It's going to be some draw go. Rob rebuilding. That drawing lands like a champ. Brainstorm. Not able to that end of turn. And a Wasteland. Chris just needs anything. Even a Simian Spirit Guide, I think you just cast at this point and feel pretty good about it. Don't know if the Sneak and Show list runs any copies of that. That is a card you see sometimes to supplement the Lotus Petals for those explosive starts, particularly in builds that are sideboarding Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon. Eternal Dragon, or Timeless Dragon, cycling, and can start eternalizing. This plateau, that'll actually allow some 4/4s to start popping up. I'm not sure what Rob's digging for. Interesting. So he chooses to brainstorm. He is buried underneath 2 defense grids. Plays another standstill. think Chris has already demonstrated, if he finds a Ponder or Brainstorm, he is just jamming it. He has no concerns for Rob's side of the board. What his deck is going to be doing is going to be better. Emrakul not going to be able to be stopped by a card like Swords to Plowshares if Rob does have any in his deck. Commits the mana to get this party started. 4 damage coming in. And doing it again. So Chris, gonna need an answer pretty quick. Just a 2-turn clock. 8 and 8 is 16. He's down to 15 life. This is going to be putting him on death's door. Chris just needs a body or a cantrip or something to dig. No, that's it. Wow. So the one-time shoe shine from Emrakul shows up and just leaves you hanging. It was going to be another like 7 turns before anything good happened. Wow. Yeah, Chris's deck absolutely betraying him there as Rob takes it down with a couple of zombie dragons.